Hey guys, today we're going to talk to you about an equation that will help you figure out just what level of freedom are you trying to achieve in your life. So if you've already subscribed, thank you. Welcome back. For those of you who haven't, we welcome you to subscribe and follow along so we can help you with the tools and resources you need to get to financial freedom. Now, this equation here in particular is something that we discuss a lot in our own coaching groups. Of how can we simplify this to figure out what do we need to do? Where do we need to put the work in to get the lifestyle that we really want? Because on a certain level, this financial freedom, it's just, it can boil down to this equation. And so this equation, I'll go ahead and give it to you now. It's managed assets times ROI, so in parentheses, and minus taxes equals your lifestyle. So it's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it, but there are a few different things that you can play around with that can dramatically impact what it is that you exactly need to achieve. Um, so we've seen it show up in a few different areas. I think Joe, we looked at your portfolio a while back, kind of similar in pertaining to this, and what rental properties you had and different things. And this can go along with all kinds of different assets. But why don't you tell them a little bit about how that played out in that scenario?
Yeah, absolutely. It was when I was getting into the rental business. It's basically just you buy leveraging someone else's money, and you just had to try to create some cash flow, and you just try to scale your business up, go from one property to 10 to whatever you want to get, and the more properties, more cash flow. That's just how you do it, and that's the basic core concept of what most buy and hold rental property owners do. Now you can do that with single families, duplexes, 500 unit apartment complexes, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And um, I was I was kind of at a tipping point where I was in between deals, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, let's take a look at this and just kind of see how each property is performing, because that's kind of how you want to look at it. You want to look at each property to see, is this property performing? Do I need to do something different? Do I need to sell it? There's something I can change or whatever. Everybody reflects on their business at some point in time, every so often, once a year, once every quarter, whatever it is. And we started to look at it, and everybody has, including myself, that lifestyle, or that quote unquote freedom number. Like, what's your freedom number? And your freedom number is, this is what I have to make every single month or year to completely get out of my job, or to replace my income, or replace the bare minimum essentials so that I could quit my job. And we were looking at it, and we played around a couple of different things there, and we were trying to tweak each property, but also look at the portfolio as a whole in different aspects. So my portfolio, most of my properties were leveraged at the time, and we looked at it and we go, well, what if I were to pay off all these properties, or or do a joint venture where I didn't have any of my own money in the property anymore, and then did a commercial line of credit, which is a HELOC for the commercial world, and loaned that out to other private investors, people that are looking for money. You basically become a private lender, and I use my properties to execute that, to make them work even harder, basically, without actually doing anything differently, so to speak. And I don't remember the exact numbers that we came up with at the time, but it was going from saying, Joe, you have this many properties and you need to triple it to get to your freedom number, to, hey, you need like one more property and then just pay them all off, and then leverage that line of credit, or that credit inside of there, that equity, and lend it out to other private investors, and just basically let your dollars do the work for you. And that was a huge game changer for me, thinking to myself of like, oh, I need to get X number more properties, 3 times, 4 times, whatever that was, and go, oh, you're already there. You just need to move some things around in here basically. And I think the managed assets times ROI minus taxes equals lifestyle. It's, in my opinion, what my biggest takeaway from that is most people are way further ahead in getting to the lifestyle that they really want without even actually realizing it, because they just follow this trajectory that they started out to follow. And it's just like, this is the way that it is. This is what everybody does. This is what we do. We just leverage debt and we just push forward and we work harder and we'll get there someday. And a lot of people, they don't realize that if they just change some things around or do things a little bit differently, or you expand your business laterally. So that would be, instead of just, for my instance, it would be, you got buy and hold rentals. Okay, well, take some of that equity out of that property and then private lend it to someone else that also does buy and hold rentals. That's a lateral move in my business. I already understand the concept of that business, and it's not like I'm doing buy and hold rentals and now I am creating steel targets to sell to gun shop owners, basically. It's not that type of move. And the learning curve is super short because I know how to identify what a rental is. I understand the cash flow analysis and all that type of stuff. So people set out to become financially free, and this equation needs to be in their pocket the entire time, because a lot of times we search for freedom, and I feel that we end up creating another job or another workplace. And it's just like, I created a workplace for myself. And it's just like, well, there was one over there that you could have just did and went and cashed your paycheck and got your W-2, and then you didn't have to worry about anything else. Like, you went out and sought freedom, and you just created servitude.
Bought a job. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my own experience for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I've talked to several people now who they're multimillionaires, but they're still working away at their job because they don't think they can retire, just because they're not looking at this equation. They're not looking at, how can I work with this to use what I already have to create more of this lifestyle that I'm really after. So let's go through an example here so that you can use this, so you have an idea of, what do we move around, what do we play with to just make that lifestyle like Joe did, like these multimillionaires it should be. So let's pretend that, all right, you got this equation. It's managed assets times ROI in parentheses. So you do that first in the equation, minus your taxes, you got to pay taxes, equals lifestyle. So let's pretend you have managed assets of $1 million. Congratulations, you're a millionaire. Now, let's pretend that you get the average stock market return of 7%. Okay. So that managed assets times 7% equals $70,000. You're going to get a $70,000 return in that year. Now, since that was, say, capital gains rate type of taxes, you're going to pay 20%. So let's say 20% on that 17,000 is $14,000. So that's 70,000 now. That initial million times 7%, 70,000 minus 14,000 gives you $56,000 left over. So that means that you can have a lifestyle of $56,000 according to that formula. So, if you're wanting to retire and have $100,000 lifestyle and you got $100,000 in the bank, you're looking at this formula in this way, no wonder you don't think you can retire. Oh, I need 2 million so I can have that $100,000 lifestyle. Well, hold on. Let's move things around a little bit and let's see what we can do here to make this equation work for us a little better. So let's pretend now that we're smart. We make our assets perform better for us, whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate or whatever. In Joe's scenario, he had some underperforming ones. What if he sold those off and put them into better performing properties where he's getting a better return? that would bring his overall portfolio return up, right? That's exactly what was going on in that situation. So let's pretend now you still got the same $1 million. It hasn't changed. Let's pretend you move that up, that 7% up to 12%. Okay, cool. 12% times $1 million, you're making $120,000. You're making $10,000 a month off of your return on investment. That's nice. That's pretty good. So you're still going to pay the same 20% taxes. So it's going to be $24,000. So take that off of that 120,000, you're at $96,000. There's your $100,000 lifestyle. Okay, we're off by $4,000. So what? But just by playing around with the formula a little bit, getting a better return on our investment, thinking more smartly instead of saying, "Oh, I can't do it." Like, what can I do? How do I get there? Where am I lacking here in this formula to be able to get what I'm after? That's an extra $40,000 a year that you're net that you can go put into a lifestyle that you want. You can go buy another car every year if you want, but that's a very substantial increase in the amount of money you're getting.
Reese, I want people to definitely look at this equation, not only as a whole equation, like across the board, but kind of do what you're doing there of managed assets. That is one thing to focus on. ROI, that's one thing to focus on. Taxes, that's one thing. And so is lifestyle. You can pick any one of these 4 elements and change it to get what you're looking for. So let's say that we're going for that $100,000 lifestyle and we're just like, man, I really don't want to add any more of my managed assets, and my ROI is maxed out, and taxes are taxes. Well, how much debt do you have? What if you just wiped out all of your debt? What if you're paying $3,000-$4,000 a month in interest to this, that, and the other? Well, knock that out. Go for the lowest hanging fruit. That is what everybody should be focusing on. And what's crazy is you need to look at this equation every 6 months, every year, whatever it is, and just take a look at it and just go, okay, where is the squeaky wheel? That's where I need to put the grease. And it could be ROI, like it was for a couple of my properties. And what if it's taxes? Do you have a self-directed IRA set up? Are you to that age where you can start pulling money out of your self-directed IRA while still funding it? Now you're dropping your taxes down from $24,000, $30,000 a year, whatever that number is. I mean, it goes up based on how much your income is at. If you got a Roth IRA, that money is already taxed when it went in. So now when you're pulling it back out, tax man's saying 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have to chase a higher ROI. We don't have to add more to our assets, which can sometimes add to more headache. Or how about managed assets? If you can figure out a way to bring in a partner and you're just the money person, now your managed assets go up, but you are not increasing how much you're going to work. So, look at this equation as a whole, obviously, but you're going to find your diamond somewhere in one of those 4 parts. Look at each one of those 4 parts and be ruthless in whatever your investment is, because whatever you're investing is, that is one of your employees. And if they're not performing, you fire them and get a new one.
Yeah. So now I'm going to blow your mind a little bit, because this equation can also work the other direction, right? We were trying to figure out how much lifestyle can we have if we already have it. But what if we worked this equation backwards? What if we said, okay, we did everything Joe said there. We wiped out our debt. We got our lifestyle down, like lifestyle expenses down to where I can have just the party of a lifetime without costing an arm and a leg, where I don't need to have $100,000 lifestyle. Let's take it back to that $56,000 lifestyle. Because if you're paying $4,000 a month in interest or debt payments, and you take that down, that's $48,000 a year. So you could go from that 96 down to 56 or something like that. So let's pretend we got this $56,000 lifestyle. What if you still got that same 12% return? that we got by working around our portfolio a little bit. How much money would you need in order to live the life that you want to live, to live that $56,000 lifestyle? Well, there's a tax component in there too, and that kind of will vary based on what that is. But it very interestingly works out to $14,000. And what this answer is, you plug that back in, and that gives you a managed assets that you need of about $583,000. So you thought that $40,000 increase per year was impressive, but by working this backwards, by being smarter, getting a better ROI, by getting your expenses down, by being smart just about the way you approach this in your lifestyle and living things the way you want to do them without them costing you an arm and a leg, you just saved yourself $417,000. That is over 10 times the amount that you saved from the beginning. So no, you don't need to go double the size of your managed assets. You don't need to work for the extra 20 years to be able to retire, because you did this smart. You did this the right way. That's where the big money savings is in this equation. This equation is so powerful, but it's so simple. And that's where the power in it comes from. So think about this smart. Think about where you're at in your life and use this. As you're going through your financial freedom journey, this will tell you what you can and can't do. It's that simple. So, I got to step off my soapbox here for a minute. I get fired up just because, seriously, I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, multimillionaire. He was telling me about it. And he's like, I can't retire yet. I said, what's it going to take for you to retire? His answer to me was another year and a half. That wasn't a financial answer. It wasn't I need to get another 1% return. It wasn't that I need to reduce my taxes by this much. It wasn't any of that. He was still in that mindset, like, God bless him, I love the guy, but he was still in the mindset that we've all been conditioned to in society of, this is how long I've got to work in order to make these things happen. But he's got the assets. He just needs to get his ROI and his taxes in place. So this same thing works. All right, you're not 59 and a half yet. There are ways of working this around, but you've got to learn. I'm not going to give you those answers right here, but you can learn, go out and search what it is to do. There's tons of other videos out there and books and everything on the subject of how to retire early and put your IRA to use to get your taxes down. How do you save debt? Dave Ramsey goes on mega rants about debt and expenses and stuff like that. ROI, how do you invest in real estate? How do you invest in stocks? How do you do all those sorts of things?
How do you create your own bank?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's all of those tools boil back down to affecting one of these elements of this equation. And that's the power of this equation. That's what it can do for your life, is it can give you that life that you really want sooner than you think's possible.
Reese, I'll tell you where, in my opinion, where I think this is coming from. That whole, like, just keep throwing it in there. It comes from the old 401k mentality. Like, these big investment firms that take our money and they manage it for us. And they say, at the end of the year, you're going to live off of 4%. You need to live off of 4% of whatever you had. Your managed assets, your ROI should be 4%, because the rest of it is going to go to keeping it in the fund, growing it, whatever. But it's always the 4% number that they always come back to. So if you want to live a $100,000 lifestyle or more, and your ROI is 4%, yeah, you got to just throw money at the stock market forever. And you got to eat ramen noodles until the age of 67. And then from 67 to 77, you can party like a rock star. So that's where it comes from. They, the institutions, they look at it like, listen, we'll do the thinking for you. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. We'll give you your 4% of your money, and you just figure it out. But the rest of this, don't worry about. Just figure out how you're going to live off 4% of your income, which is bananas. And this managed assets times ROI, minus taxes equals lifestyle. No investor, like the big equity firms that are out there that hold your 401ks, they are not going to show you this equation because they realize that they don't control any of this equation. They're going to be like, they can tell you the taxes, they can tell you taxes. Yeah, okay. But self-directed IRA, there's custodians out there, and they'll be happy to help you with that. But the ones that want to give you the easy button, they don't, in my opinion, don't have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, and that's their business model too. Just the more they can make on fees, the more that it will drag it down. I just finished Unshakable, which was kind of a follow-up book to Tony Robbins' money book. He just reiterated that point home again, that just a 1% fee is astronomical. It sounds so small, but in the amount of wealth that it robs from you, it's insane. And because that compounds too. Compounding goes both ways. You can compound up or down. So that 1% compounding, especially when you're already say you got 7%, if you paid out 20% of that in taxes, that's 1.4%, right? So you're down to 5.6%. You pay out a 1% fee for your for your management of that IRA fund, 401k, whatever it is. That's almost another 20%. That's almost as much as your taxes. That's insane. So think about how you can get better ROIs. Think about how you can reduce your taxes. How can you live the maximum lifestyle for the minimum amount of money? And how can you do that today?
Net managed asset number will go in the direction that it's supposed to go. If you take care of all the other three parts, that managed asset number is going to go downward.
Absolutely.
So, I feel we hit some points on this video, but I feel almost like we need to do a follow-up video, or we need to go into something different, because you and I could talk here for 3 hours and just go into case study after case study. This is the deep dive to go into, but I think we need to keep it at a 10,000 foot view for this video. But I think in the future, we're going to come up with some follow-up videos for this.
Yeah. And I'm fired up about this right now too, just because I'm just fired up. So hit subscribe so you can follow along on this journey, so we can bring more of that education to you and you can get to this financial freedom sooner. Let's put this equation to work for you, and let's just make you have that lifestyle now. Let's not wait for someday. Let's get it now. So click subscribe right now, turn on the bell notifications, and let us know in the comments, like, yes, I'm jumping in. This equation's awesome. Thank you. And we will talk to you in the next video. Thanks.
See you guys.